You turn my morning into dancing. You turn my morning into dancing. Your love changes everything. There's something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. Changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. Changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. Changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. Changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. Changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. You turn my morning into dancing. 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 'Cause your love changes everything. Your love changes everything. You turn my morning into dancing. You turn my morning into dancing. You turn my morning into dancing. 'Cause your love changes everything. Your love changes everything. Oh, there's something about your love. Something about your love changes everything in my body. Oh, something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. It changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. It changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. Changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. Changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. Changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. You turn my morning into dancing. You turn my morning into dancing.
morning, Rooted Men. Elder Matt Ryan, Firmly Rooted Ministries. Pleasure to be with you this morning on a Tuesday morning. Beautiful summer we're having. Another strangely cool day coming today. I'm not normally with you on Tuesdays, but Stevie G is out at camp doing this amazing week of service he's done every year for a few summers now, where he and I think a few other folks from Firmly Rooted had done it as well. I know Elder Glenn's out there with him this week, but they're out there just loving on kids who aren't always loved on. Some foster kids or kids who might be neglected or even be abused and come from bad situations, and they get to spend a week at this camp out in the country, out at the lake, having fun, being loved on in a way maybe they don't always experience, and getting to know the love of a Savior and a Father that will pursue them, even though their lives aren't the best. I think it's a week that gives hope and delivers so much to them. So blessings on their week. Be praying for them as they work incredibly hard, and they're going to be incredibly tired from all the work that they're doing with these kids. But every year it just seems to be an amazing time of growth for them spiritually, and something I would challenge the rest of us to be doing more, having some set out intentional time for work of ministry, for going out and serving others. Maybe you can't do a whole week, but you could do a day with your family, and you could be doing service projects, and it changes you. I know I haven't been the same since I quit doing my annual mission trips. Boy, they just mean the world to me. Maybe that's something we'll talk about, organizing one with us men. Maybe we'll get together and do something. Anyway, I don't want to get too far off track. So we're digging into Proverbs this morning, as we have been for quite some time, and we're in Proverbs 18. Today is short; it's just 3 verses, but I think they're pretty powerful. So I'm going to read them to you first. He who finds a wife finds what is good and receives favor from the Lord. The poor plead for mercy, but the rich answer harshly. One who has unreliable friends soon comes to ruin, but there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother. What strikes me right to the core, as he talks about he who finds a wife and he with unreliable friends, is this idea that we're made to be in community. We're made to be around each other. In fact, God created Eve, created woman for man from his rib, because it was not good that he would be alone. From the very first acts of creation themselves, it was recognized that man shouldn't be alone. So what does that mean for us today? You know, it's funny because a lot of us deal with anxiety today. Many of us don't even know that that's what we're dealing with. But our body was created with these alarm systems when things aren't going right. You know, we're getting ourselves going with coffee to fill ourselves with caffeine when our body needs sleep in the morning, so that we can fit into what society says we have to do and be. We are, staring at these screens and getting addicted to them, and our body sends up warning signs that it's not good for us. And all these things we do, there's all these like ancient wiring in our brain that tells us, we have these alert systems. And so in a way, anxiety is actually a good thing, because it's your body alerting you that you're doing something out of balance. But one of the other things I think all too often is that this world also tells us, as men especially, we're supposed to be quiet when we struggle. We're supposed to be stoic. The American ideal is we're supposed to pull ourselves up from our bootstraps, right? Self-reliance. That's where freedom comes from. Well, I think there's some value in that line of thinking, but it's also really dangerous, because there are so many things that we deal with in life that we should not be dealing with alone. There are issues that we come up against. There's even mental health issues, but just day-to-day struggles. It's not always easy to be in a marriage. It's not always easy to be a father. It's not always easy to be working and being a breadwinner. or to be serving your church or serving your community. There's just so many challenges that are so much better when lived in community. It's one of the things that's just so critical about being part of a church family. And there's so few Americans. No, that's the lens we always look through, right? But there's so few, as little as now they say less than 20%, 18%, maybe even lower by some calculations. That's the number of people in the U.S. who are regularly attending a church. And it's tough, right? There's churches that have challenges. There's valid reasons some people don't go. They've been hurt. But gosh, the whole thrust of it is that we need to be in community. We need to be building each other up. And we need to feel like we have a circle of people we can be vulnerable with too when we need to be. You know, there's a lot of struggles that make you lonely. And I don't want to put words in Tom's mouth, but I feel like he's facing one of those right now. Maybe because I've been there. I've had the doctor tell me it's cancer before. And it shuts out a lot of things. It makes a lot of things go silent. And it feels like there's a lot of loneliness in going through that. It's one of those things they talk about in the medical world, is that it doesn't matter who you are or what you've accomplished in this world. You all are laid bare on the table when you're unconscious and in our hands, right? We are merely a whole bunch of atoms working in harmony. This is all that our body is, right? And it strips us down and makes us vulnerable, and we don't like to think about that. We don't like to think about being weak and fragile, especially as men, but boy, is there power when you can be talking with someone else who understands what you're going through, or just who cares. You know, do you have a shepherd in your life? Do you know someone who just reaches out and just loves, and it's just who they are? They're like created to be the shepherd. I would encourage you to find one if you don't have one. You know, the last verse also says, one who has unreliable friends soon comes to ruin. And there's this whole idea that the 10 people you hang around with most will define so much about your life. It'll define what you're going to earn, where you're going to live. All these things are defined by the values of the people you're closest with. And that circle of who you let in, some of us are too critical and don't let enough people in, or some people are too maybe naive and let the wrong people in. So this idea that it's just community for community's sake is also not the end, right? We want to be smart about who we're surrounding ourselves with. People who are wise, people who are living a life that we want to be living, right? As in a Christian walk, that's so much easier, but I think it's also seems to be waning. There doesn't seem to be a lot of support for the idea of mentorship in a Christian walk and discipleship. And hey, I noticed you're always talking to your wife this way. I want to honor my wife better by talking to her the way that you talk to your wife. Can you talk to me about that, right? How uncomfortable and weird would that be to ask? But how powerful could it be on the other side, right? And so the thing that comes to mind, you know, there's a couple things, right? So there's also this idea of having solitary time, having alone time, which I think is also important in balance. Clearly, Jesus had a lot of that time when he would go into the wilderness and pray, or he would go into a quiet place and pray just to his Father. And so even if you catch it, solitary is not solitary. It's quiet time spent with the Father, which is much more important. But I can't help but picture when Peter's walking out on the water to Jesus, and everything's going great until he realizes he's walking out on the water, and then he falls in. And things aren't going so well all of a sudden, and what happens? But Jesus reaches down to him. And that's the way Jesus serves him in his loneliness. His time where he is struggling by himself under that water because he just tried to take it over and do it his way. And I think that's my challenge for you. Be the hand reaching down in the water to somebody else. It's not going to be natural. You don't have to start by looking for someone and opening yourself up, but look for others who you can serve in that way, men. I just think it's so important that we lead by example, that we start building a community by being intentional about supporting others and building others up. And I think there is benefit that will come to us, because I know there's some of you feeling a need to have somebody you can confide in, but you don't know how to ask. To have somebody who will encourage you, but you haven't been able to identify them. But I think it starts with us reaching out and starting with others. It starts with us being the hand that reaches into the water. So that's what this hit me today. I hope that makes sense to you, and that's a good challenge for you. I hope that any of you who are dealing with loneliness in any way, or who might be struggling, reach out. Reach out to me, to Tom, to any other elder. We would love to serve you in that way. We would love to either be a mentor in your life, or somebody who doesn't even have to be a mentor, just who is a listening ear, who won't judge, or connect you with somebody else who might be the kind of person that would fit your need. Anyway, I love you. I hope that's good stuff for you. Let's have a great day today. Make it a firmly rooted day, and may someone see Jesus in us today. Peace.